I got a job as a part-time night guard at my local warehouse. Hello all, I really don't want to disclose my name or the name of the warehouse, but about what little I can tell you about myself. I am 16 years old and I live in India. My town is somewhat isolated from the rest of the country, but as we have all basic services made available, it does not matter much. The nearest city is a 2-hour drive away over a treacherous muddy road. I come from a middle-class family, and though all my needs were taken care of, my wants were not. My father put it clearly to me: if I wanted to indulge myself on video games, then I need to pay for it from my own pocket. He was willing to drive me to the city to get it, but the cash for it must come from my savings. I had my eye on doom eternal, so I decided to search for a part-time job so that I could earn a little cash over the weekends. As I was reading through the classified sections of the newspaper, one particular advert caught my eye. A local company was looking for a part-time night guard for their warehouse. This company provides most of the facilities and ensures a regular supply of essential goods like groceries, newspapers, etc. This job was tempting. The warehouse was no far from my school and it seemed to be a simple job. I could just sit there with my phone for the 7-hour shift and get paid for it. I called the number that was provided and a woman picked up. She was surprised to know my age and was reluctant to give me the job even after I had provided an explanation, but in the end she relented. When the pay for the one-night shift was told to me, I was pleasantly surprised. It was more than what a part-time employee would earn for a week of shifts. However, I had to work for 1 month before I can quit the job. I would still be paid for that period. This seemed too good to be true, and I kept asking if there was a catch anywhere. The woman bluntly asked whether I wanted the job or not. My first shift is up tonight, and as soon as school ended I hopped on my bicycle and went to a street food place to eat dinner before taking my shift. I showed up at the warehouse at 9:30 p.m. My shift would start at 10. The warehouse was located in a quiet part of town adjacent to a forest. I called my parents to inform them that I had reached and proceeded to wait for another 15 minutes. Sharp at 10 I saw a man exiting the warehouse after double-checking the locks. He approached me and we exchanged pleasantries. He was apparently the day guard and he has been instructed to brief me. He gave me the keys to the warehouse and to the security booth and gave some general guidelines. Then he took a paper from his shirt pocket and along with that a revolver and gave them to me. I was shocked when I got the revolver, as in India you do not see people carrying or owning guns due to the strict gun laws. He wishes me good luck and proceeds to leave. I run after him and ask why he gave me a gun. He simply tells me to just read the note that he gave, and then he left the warehouse on foot. I tried to convince myself that the handgun had been given just in case someone breaks in or an animal wanders in from the forest, yet I was not at ease. Nevertheless, I proceeded to the security booth. It was 10:15 and my shift ends at 5 a.m. It was going to be a long night. I went to the security booth and I was going to take my phone and scroll through Reddit when I realized that I did not read the note that the day guard gave me. I then took the note from my pocket and began to read it. It was a list of instructions in Hindi. Here is a translation of what was written. 1. Do not leave the warehouse under any circumstances until your shift is over. 2. Keep the security booth locked at all times and don't fall asleep on the job. There are candy bars in the desk drawers and a flask of coffee on the desk. This should help you keep awake. 3. Every half an hour perform an inspection of the premises. If you have the feeling of being watched, run back to the booth and lock it. Do not stay out for more than 10 minutes at a time. 4. Do not enter the warehouse under any circumstances. If you hear noises coming from it, do not get up to investigate, or if you're doing your rounds, then run back to the security booth. Dim the lights once inside. The warehouse might try to coax you into entering it. Be always on guard. 5. Monitor the security cameras constantly. If screen 3 shows static, hide immediately. 6. If you hear laughter coming from the premises, turn off the lights immediately and hide under your desk and try to barricade the door. If anybody looks at you through the window, stay as still as possible. 7. Around 12:15 a.m. a woman with a bundle will approach you and beg to get some food from the warehouse to give to her starving child. Ignore her and do not look at the bundle she carries or her face. 8. Around 3 a.m. a person will emerge from the forest whistling. Do not let them reach the gate and shoot them with your handgun, irrespective of who they may be. If they reach the gate, it may prove fatal. 9. You may hear an animal prowling the premises at any time of your shift. It may make sounds, but do not try to search for it. Switch off the lights in the booth and sit still. Do not try to hide under the desk. If it comes to the booth, keep your hand on the gun but do not fire unless it tries to break in. Sit very still and avoid looking at its eyes. Do not perform your rounds until the animal has gone back to the forest. 10. If at any point during your shift it becomes very quiet, begin whistling or playing music on your phone until you hear the crickets chirping again. 11. If you hear a high-pitched scream coming from the forest, do not leave the booth or go towards IT. The voice may beg you for help, but you must not leave the booth. Rush back to the booth if you are outside and play the devotional songs kept on the desk until the end of the shift. If by any chance the aforementioned rules are broken, the safest place to be is the forest. There is some hope of surviving there. If you wander by mistake into the warehouse, leave immediately. In case you are trapped, try to survive until morning, though your chances are slim. Carry your handgun at all times. The day guard will come to collect you or what is left of you in the morning. Good luck. The management. I don't know if this is some sort of a sick joke, but this has creeped me out a lot. I'm not sure what to do and whether I need to take these rules seriously. It was time for my first shift at 10:30. After reading the rules, I did not relish the idea of performing my rounds in the dark, and so I tried to look around the booth for a torch which I could use. I found one in the drawer which contained the candy bars. I reread the list of rules to make sure I don't mess up. I leave the booth and, armed with the flashlight and revolver, I proceed to do a sweep of the premises. I was constantly on guard during the round and kept looking back over my shoulder. Before my 10 minutes got over, I had reached the booth. So far so good. The shift was dreadfully boring. I could only read so many posts. I soon began to feel sleepy. I took a swing of the coffee and decided to take a few candy bars from the drawer when I suddenly realized that the screen 3 was showing static. As I dived under the desk, I wondered how I did not hear the static coming from the monitor. Just as I was contemplating this, I heard something move outside the booth. I froze. I tried to be as quiet as possible. I was facing towards the screen that showed what was happening outside the booth. Some sort of humanoid figure was standing outside, but it clearly was not human, even though the quality of the security cameras were not very great. The creature seemed to have fur on it, and each hand had 3 claws as long as a quarter of the creature's size. What was more disturbing was it had one eye, one luminous eye which could be seen in the dark. I could hear it circling the booth, and after what seemed like ages it came outside the security booth and was just standing there, and then slowly it moved its head, which made a crushing sound, towards the camera, and it smiled. The thing had razor-sharp teeth, and its hideous smile was accompanied by drool running down its face. It stood there for what seemed like a long time, and then suddenly its body turned to face towards the forest, but its head did not. Its head was still looking at the camera, smiling its hideous smile, while its body began walking towards the forest at a slow pace. Even after it entered the forest, I could still see its luminous eye amongst the trees. I got up once I was certain the creature had left, and I checked the time. Only 30 minutes had passed. I had missed one round and my next round would be in 15 minutes. I was wondering if I was hallucinating due to my lack of sleep when I see a woman approaching me. The woman seemed to be carrying something. Even as the woman walked towards me, I knew something was terribly wrong. The way the woman walked was unnatural, and everything about her gave me a bad feeling. I then looked at my watch. 12:17 a.m. The woman must have emerged around 12:15 a.m. As soon as she noticed me looking at her, she began to wail in a demonic way and beg me to get some food for her child. She tried her best to make eye contact with me, and her wailing became louder and louder, and soon the baby she was carrying also began to join in. The chorus was unbearable, and I almost was going to say something, but I kept my restraint. These creatures are trying to make me break the rules so that they can harm me, and this thing wants to make me acknowledge her. Then she will be free to attack. The wailing slowly died down and the woman had just disappeared. I am really scared and shaken right now. I am sure others have been through something similar. I really don't know what to do now and whether I will see the morning. If anyone has been through something similar, please let me know, and any suggestions on what to do are welcome. I will try to update after my shift if I make it. It is now time for my rounds, and it has also become extremely quiet now for some reason.